Hello, and welcome to Homeschool Informational Services, where we individualize lifelong learning. Karen and I started Homeschool Informational Services in 2012 to help families on their journey through homeschooling. I'm Annalisa, and I've homeschooled my oldest son through high school.
Hi, I'm Karen, and I homeschooled my 4 children over these past 21 years.
Did you know that there are many homeschoolers that you encounter on a daily basis? And today we're here to interview Armand. Armand is a 2013 homeschool graduate. Let's learn a little bit about his homeschool journey. Welcome, Armand. We're happy to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. If I'm not mistaken, I look at you as a YouTube channel. Am I the first interview so
No.
far?
No.
Okay.
No.
You haven't posted them yet, I guess.
No, we haven't posted them yet. We haven't.
Okay.
So
Okay.
tell us a little bit about why your family started homeschooling.
So my mom was an educator in the New York City public school system, and she had some interesting experiences, during her tenure as a teacher there, and I think that shaped a lot of her desire to homeschool us based upon her experiences as a teacher.
Okay.
So when were you homeschooled? The age and grade?
So from the beginning, never went to public or private school. Always homeschooled, K through 12. So the whole time.
Okay. And did you enjoy it or dislike any part of it?
So I did. There were moments where I didn't like it. I think that's normal. If you've been homeschooled the whole time, don't know what you're missing, what you're not missing, right? And so you think you may be missing something, and most of your friends are possibly in the school system. So there were points, various points in my time of homeschooling that I was dissatisfied, wanted to go to school, and that's more as I got older. I think it came from having friends who weren't homeschooled. I think part of that is when you have friends who are homeschooled, they don't understand it. And there's a stigma, I believe, that people give about homeschooling because they don't know anything. The average person does not know what homeschooling entails. What you see is from the media or, maybe just probably that's it, right? And so the average person doesn't really understand what homeschooling is. And so it's a lot bigger. Every time I always have to explain every time, what we did, because people are like, how does that work? How does that work when you're a homeschool? So I got a question all the time. Well, I used to. I think now there's more information about it. It's a lot more people do it a lot more now. So I think that people are starting to change their view about homeschooling because it's been more popular in the world today. So,
Right. It's so true. So I guess this question is kind of together. It's two questions I'm trying to ask you that's kind of together. What type of community did you have, and how were you socialized?
so that's a great question because one of the biggest misconceptions is socialization for homeschoolers. I was fortunate to live in places where homeschool community was big or were supported. Of course, so I'm sure New York, there was a lot of homeschool co-ops that were there. When we moved to Virginia, they had half a dozen homeschool co-ops in the area. And so I felt very supported, and as far as socialization, I kind of, my take is a little bit different. I believe that it was better because one of the dangers of public schooling is you can't control influences, right? That you entail. And so I think I had a lot of positive influences and social encounters, and not just with my peer, but all ages, right? And so I think I was better socialized than the average uh, person in a public school or private school because of my experiences. We traveled, we experienced different cultures and different groups of people. And so I believe I was socialized a lot, and so I really appreciate that experience. But yeah, there is a big community out there. Obviously some places don't have that, about smaller towns oftentimes, and depending on where you live in this country, it depends on whether or not you have that support system. But I was fortunate that I was able to live in places where there was a lot of support groups and co-ops, what we call them, that helped, helped the experience a lot. So.
Right. Okay. Annalisa has the next question.
Were there any communities that you would have liked to be involved in? I know you said that you had always been homeschooled, so you didn't really have a grasp of what it was like to be in public school. But was there any community that you thought, wow, I would have liked to been involved in that?
No, not really, because where I live, we had a homeschool sports team. I was in my club. We had a drama class. I was in different clubs, whatever, with my co-op. So I didn't really miss out on any communities. Now I will say that during that time, I think there was a time when when I first started playing sports where my team wasn't that good, and so I wish I was at a better team. But as far as my basic needs being met, everything that I wanted, I was able to access.
Excellent.
From a social perspective, from a community perspective, and it was available for me, in my area.
You said a little bit about sports teams, so can you elaborate on that? What kind of teams were you on? How long, over the years did you play?
So I started playing. So the area I lived in Virginia, the Hampton Roads area, when I started playing sports. Obviously, when I was younger, we had like YMCA rec teams, right? They're not as organized, but we did have a homeschool basketball team that actually played in a conference with public and private schools. Mm-hmm. And so it was, the full gamut there. So I played on that team from 8th grade to 12th grade.
Oh, wow.
And so that was a great experience. And so, but they also offered volleyball. They also offered baseball and soccer, and those were competitive as well. We were actually in the conference. We had an athletic director who we were in conference. We had a championship. So we played other mostly private Christian schools, and some magnet schools as well. So we were, it was a legit, basketball team, and so. We had tournaments and stuff like that. So it wasn't just a random, we got together and it was actually a team. We had practices every week. We had to qualify. We had a certain amount of players to be in the conference and all of that stuff. So it was pretty awesome. And not a lot of teams have that, and not teams, but not a lot of places have that rather. And so I was fortunate to have that opportunity to play competitive basketball. And we've actually had players who went on to play college ball from one of my coaches actually played college ball from my team, right? He played in college, was able to get scouted. And
oh, really?
Yeah, so there are certain teams in Virginia. I will say there are quite a few homeschool teams throughout Virginia. There was a big tournament that we went to every year. I can't remember the exact town, but it was a pretty big tournament. It was all homeschool teams.
I think that was in Lynchburg.
That might have been Lynchburg, yes.
I think that was in Lynchburg. Because I think the New Jersey team went there too.
Yeah. Right. I believe they had a state tournament, had also a tournament for teams throughout the country.
Right.
That would play as well. And that was in Lynchburg. And so that was awesome for me. I think that helped me a lot. I think if I didn't have that, I'd probably been because that was my outlet, right? That was my outlet playing sports. And so that helped me a lot during my time, and especially in high school. And so that outlet really shaped my experience in school. So,
yeah. Okay, Annalisa, you have the next question.
Do you recall what curriculum that you used?
So We had quite a few. Becca was one of the curriculum that we used. We had a few unit studies. Um, see. I think one thing about homeschooling that is really awesome is you can use multiple curriculums at the same time, right? So math can be something. You got something else for science, something else for um, history, right? You kind of tailor your curriculum to you, which I think is one of the best benefits of homeschooling is you get to tailor your learning to how you learn best. And that's kind of how it was done for us. I think as we got older in high school, we leaned more heavily on the co-ops. So what a co-op is basically a homeschool group that offers classes, activities, support for homeschooling families. And so pretty much in high school, I went to co-op 2 days a week, had homework the rest of the week, and that was pretty much my homeschooling. And then we kind of supplemented some subjects that I didn't get from co-op, but a lot of online learning. At Becca, we did online, so it was a pre-recorded classroom instruction. We had the workbook there, and we would do that online. And my mom would help, with that as well. But it was a lot of different curriculums. I know for history, a lot of unit studies, a lot of reading with that. And so it is just so many different. There's so many. My mom was big about researching curriculum, so she was quite thorough in that, and so kind of tailored our learning to based upon and we got to choose too as well. We were part of that process of what we liked, and so I think that really helped as well.
I love that you mentioned that you were part of the process, because I really feel that when you allow your students to be a part of the process, and they really own that, right? And they're more excited about what it is that they're learning. Thank you so much. I'm glad you shared all of those points. Karen?
What was the most unique experience you think in your homeschool?
And I've been thinking about this question for a minute. I think the whole experience was unique overall. Trying to find one that was more unique than the other. I was trying to rack my brain to find an answer for that question. But I think in general it was unique because, I would say this: the flexibility of it, because we got to travel. We were able to go different places, where other kids could not, right? Because they had to go to school, right? I think also too, we were able to have more free time to do other things because we didn't have a schedule where we had to be in classroom 8 hours. If you guys have been homeschooling for any amount of time, you don't need to be, learning for 6 hours. I think we learn more in a short amount of time than the average, kid does because it's just us learning, right? So I don't worry about other students waiting to be done. I don't have to wait for, the line to lunch or whatever like that. It's just, it's kind of, easy, knock your work out, and then you're pretty much done for the day. And so I think that allows you to have more flexibility in your learning as well as other activities you wanted to do. And so I think was a great experience for me that I enjoyed was the flexibility as well as the travel. We traveled a lot, I will say, and I really appreciate that. And looking back, I realized how unique that was because, meeting friends and they're like, man, we didn't travel like that. We could only travel in the summertime, right? And with my mom being a stay-at-home mom, we had the ability to get up and go all the time. She'd have a job that she had to go clock into, so we were able to travel. We took trips out to Canada all the time. Different places. Washington D.C. and so on and so forth. And so we had that flexibility to travel, and also that increased our learning because we had to learn outside of just our home, right? I still remember our trip we took to DC and going to the Smithsonian, going to the different museums and go around the Capitol and stuff like that. That was awesome. We used to go to Underground Railroad event every year, and just learning a lot of that stuff still sticks with me to this day, right? I still remember learning about Nat Turner and Underground Railroad, and talking about 12 Years a Slave and all those different things. that I still remember because we were able to learn not just by reading, but by physically hearing people tell stories and see props and hear people play drums, the African drums that they would play during that time. So a lot of those different things, I think, ingrained in my mind, helped me to learn more than just one way, right? Because there's more than one way to learn, right? And you know, I think homeschoolers have an advantage of being able to open up their horizons to learn different ways and different methods, and I think it helps them, overall um, be as far as more effective learners. So.
Okay.
Did you participate in any volunteer activities while you were homeschooled?
I would say yes. We were a big part of our church. I think a lot of our activities were through the church. I did have a few projects that I did with my co-op. We did some service projects and things of that nature. I believe so. No, I was part of quite a few things between church, between my co-op, even my sports team as well. We did some things together as well. So.
Do you think that being involved in those activities have sort of put you on a path now to be more empathetic and involved with others?
I do. I think how we were raised to be that way. My mom, Christian background, and so I think part of that is being empathetic, being treating others better than you treat yourself, right? And so even now, one of my one of my many roles that I'm a minister, and so I think that shapes who I am today as far as spiritually and how I interact with people on a day-to-day basis as well.
Right. So, okay, we're gonna backtrack just a little bit because you had a homeschool graduation. Can you describe what your homeschool graduation was, or how was it?
So actually, I had a few options. I could have graduated through my co-op. So my co-op was pretty big. So in my grade level, they probably had about 100 kids in my grade that but also could have graduated through my sports organization, Teach. So Teach they were the umbrella for all the sports in my area. And so I chose to graduate through Teach. I could have really had 3 graduations, but I chose Teach because I felt the fondness with a lot of my teammates were graduating with me at the same time, and so I think it was about I want to say there was probably about 30 of us that graduated at Teach, and so we had a graduation. We walked, we got our diplomas, all, had the cap and gowns, all of that. So so we had a graduation, like a normal
Did
graduation.
you have a yearbook? Did you have a yearbook?
Yes, I had a yearbook. I had a yearbook every year through my co-op. So my co-op had a yearbook every year. So I had a yearbook through my co-op and through Teach as well.
Right. Okay. All right. And so what did you do right after graduation? Like, okay, now you've been through all your years of school as a homeschooler, and then what did you do right after?
You talk about that day, or as far as my
No,
life?
I meant like did you continue your education? What did you do after graduation?
Yeah, so I went to seminary. I went to seminary school and got a bachelor's in biblical studies.
Okay, congratulations.
Wonderful. So you mentioned you have children. So
Yes.
do you think that you will homeschool them as well?
So that is definitely on the table. I believe I'm not against it. I'm at this point right now where it's crucial to figure it out. It's something I think about often as far as I'm fortunate to live in the area. We have a lot of opportunities for education here, good opportunities. And so I do know I probably won't do public school. If I do put them in school, it would either be we have some really great magnet schools here that I am kind of impressed by. There's a few private schools as well. And so, but I think on some level, yes, because I think education begins at home regardless of what you do with your children. So on some level, I will be homeschooling and am right now, right? Just because um, if if I'll be supplementing, if they're in school, supplementing their education with home education as well. um, but so yes, regardless of my kids are not school age at the moment. My daughter is she does attend a Head Start um, in the area,
Okay.
but on some level, yes, we'll be homeschooling.
What state do you currently reside in?
I live in Tennessee,
Okay.
Chattanooga to be specific.
Mm-hmm. And
So
so what did you
okay.
do with the biblical studies after you got your biblical studies degree? What did you do after that?
So I was I came straight here. I've been here 10 years. I can't believe it. 10 years. I've been in Chattanooga, but I was youth minister here right out of school. Well, I got a job while I was still in school. Actually, I tried out down here and got the position. And so I was youth minister for 6 years before becoming the pulpit minister.